Good morning, good morning, good morning, Coldwell Banker Central Region. I'm Natalie Carpenter, coming to you from the South suburban area of the Windy City. And I am here today to moderate this wonderful panel discussion between three of our very best in the business. We have several people here today to discuss with you listings. That's everybody's pain point right now. How do you get them? How do you sell them? And how do you get more after you do so? So our esteemed panel is here today to share with you how they're able to attract listings, how they identify them, and then how they win them every time they go on appointments, how they sell them, and how their presentations make the difference in competing for listings in our marketplace. After today's event, you'll have proven strategies to be able to go out there and land your own listings. Now, we're also going to hear from them their best tips for you to have an awesome 2022. And they'll also share with you things that they see others doing that prevent them from getting listings. But without further ado, we're going to jump right into our presentation. No, I better say before we really start that we will have a Q&A session after the event. So please remember to put your questions in the chat. And if you have something specifically for one of our panelists, make sure that you put their name first and then type in the questions. So now, without further ado, let me introduce to you our wonderful panelists in alphabetical order. Well, first, our first presenter is the one responsible for the team, Sherry Norton, from CB Gundaker in Missouri. Sherry's been licensed since 1987, and she serves the St. Louis and St. Charles metropolitan areas. Her motto is real experience, real service, and real results. And I can tell you, many people resonate with that motto for her because she gets repeat business over and over and over. And it's no wonder she's in the top 1% of Coldwell Banker Gundaker. I give you Sherry Norton. Sherry?
Hello, nice to be here.
Awesome. And next, we have John Schuster. He's from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. He represents the number 10 large team in units in North America for Coldwell Banker. With nearly 20 years experience, his team has sold over 4,000 homes in the past 11 years. He's the number 1 listing agent in the state of Minnesota for the last 8 years, ranked as one of the top 100 real estate teams in the nation by the Wall Street Journal. John Schuster and his team sell more homes than 99.9% of all agents. John Schuster.
Thanks for having me on. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, our very own Chicagoland's Mary Wallace. Mary represents our Oak Lawn office. And, you know, Mary's motto is that she's client-centered and results-driven. She's been the number 1 realtor in Oak Lawn since 2008. She's been only licensed since 2003. And she's licensed in both Illinois and Wisconsin. She's the number 1 realtor in Coldwell Banker in 2013 and 2017, and that's nationwide. She's been in the top 10 in Coldwell Banker North America for the past 11 years, number 1 in Illinois. And can you believe she was the recipient of the 30 Under 30 award just a few years ago? I give you Mary Wallace.
Thank you very much, Natalie. I'm looking forward to today.
Absolutely. And I think our audience is looking forward to hearing everything that you guys have to say as well. So we're going to jump right in. Now, there's an old saying in real estate. I know it was around when I started years ago. that if you want to last in this business, you've got to be able to list. So I'm going to pose this question to each one of you, and I'm going to start with you, Sherry. What does that say to you?
Well, listings for me, I guess I started concentrating on that probably about 20 years ago. Because, when you've got a listing, and you work hard on that listing, and that's going to be your bread and butter. More so than even buyers. Buyers are great, but listings is where you're going to get your more steady income. And that it's very important to be a listing agent.
Okay. So John, list to last. What are your thoughts?
Listings are so important. Obviously, both sides of the business bring the deal together. But, I started coaching originally when I started in the business, and they always said, think of it as being on a car lot. Do you want to be a car salesman selling one car at a time like a buyer's agent? Or do you want to own all the inventory and be a listing agent? I talk to my team all the time, and I think most agents could go out and they could list 5 or 10 homes a month, and they could manage that. It'd be very difficult, especially in this market, to try to sell 10 buyer homes a month with what's going on. So our team has always gravitated towards listings, and we've had a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. So Mary, list to last.
I would say that obviously I love listing properties. And I think when you start out, you're going to work with whatever clients you can get. You're going to work with buyers, sellers, everyone. And that's always been my mentality. But in terms of leveraging your time, listings at this point, I'm guessing you could probably close 4 listings in the time it takes to do one buyer deal. Based on the crazy amount of low inventory and the demand from buyers. So in order to grow to the listings, and especially prior, they really brought in additional business, because you get all the calls and you get this and you get that. So really in terms of growth, listings are extremely important.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they are. I think we can all say that, listings are really what drive the clients to you as an agent and to us as a company too. So I'm gonna, throw this question out to Sherry. Where do you generate most of your listings? Are they external or more internal, or sphere of influence?
More internal. Yeah, my
Okay.
sphere of influence. For a few years, I was trying to, buy the leads off of different sites. But the last 2 or 3 years, I've been concentrating on my past clients, keeping in touch with them, dropping them emails, and asking for the business, asking if they have a friend or family member that, is thinking of selling. So that has really produced for me more listings. Last year was my best year ever. And it really came from all my past clients and sphere of influence.
That's pretty good to know. And the sphere of influence should be the most important source for getting listing leads. But you said something very positive there. Ask for the listing, ask for the business. I think that's something that some of us miss along the way. We get the opportunities, but we don't necessarily ask. So I'm going to pose this question to John. What technique do you use that you feel gives you the edge over the competition?
I think a lot of it's got to be our systems. I think like a lot of realtors on this panel and probably watch this, we all have leads coming in from different ways, from sphere to inbound marketing. But it's really kind of what you brought up. What do you do with that lead when it comes in to make sure you can close it? So I think really being systematized and make sure that you're working that lead both in your CRM and that you have the follow-up in place. And that's where we're so successful, because how many times when a lead comes into you, are they ready to sign that listing and go to the market the next week? Probably less than 5% of the leads you have coming in. It's having the systems in place so you can follow up with that lead for a week or a month or a year. We just listed a house last week that the original lead source came in over 6 years ago. How many calls and follow-ups happened with that lead? And what were the systems like in place to make sure we could stay on top of that? And not making the mistake that most agents do, is where they get a lead or an opportunity and they maybe follow up once or twice and then say, hey, didn't work out, move on to something else. You got to be systematizing your business, and you got to have a tracking system to follow that lead up until it's ready to close.
I hear systems, follow-up, CRM, being organized. Those are very important things that agents need to do in order to get more listings and, obviously sell those listings too. But Mary, I'm going to pose that same question to you. Is there a particular listing technique or system that you use that gives you the edge over the competition?
Well, I would say that I am very grateful to God because this is my passion. So I really love dealing with people. My master's degree is in counseling. I love, hence Mary Listens, my website, my email. I really think that when you really love dealing with people, you sit down with them in their home. I mean, that is it's very special to me. I think that people are opening their doors to us. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but people really open up to us. I mean, this is people aren't selling and buying left and right. This is a big deal in their life. So I do try to stay, like I said, client-centered, results-driven. And the reason why is because people want results. I mean, we're their realtor, we're the professional. And if you act professional, they know it. And you know what? When you walk in unprepared, kind of flying at the seat of your pants, and you don't know the market, they know, they can see right through it. And in this market with a lot of competition, you want to make sure you are the expert. Real estate is not an easy career. You have to continually educate yourself and continually study because the market, I've never once in the past 18 plus years, ever seen the same market twice in a row, 2 years in a row. So if you're not staying on top of it, and people start asking you questions, they'll know that you don't know what you're doing. So everyone, I continually educate myself. Coldwell Banker has a class for everything. So the reality is there's no excuse to get out there and educate yourself and become the expert in your market.
Absolutely. Becoming the expert is key. Now, I saw a couple of questions in the chat centered around CRM, and they're curious to know, what do you use as a CRM? John, what CRM do you use?
We use Top Producer.
Okay, Top Producer. How about you, Mary?
So actually, up until now, right now, I'm actually just starting a new CRM. I looked at Coldwell Bankers, but I have kept all of my stuff in spreadsheets before Google. Now everything is in Google spreadsheets. Every deal that's closed, whether it's a renter, buyer listing, is kept track of. And I say this because regardless of what CRM you use, everyone's got a difference. And I can't really speak on one because I literally just started one and I haven't even imported my contacts yet. But I will tell you, you need to have a backup of all your clients and keep that up to date. Because if you decide you don't like the CRM, you'll be less organized when you're done if you don't have everything in a backup in your own Google spreadsheet. And it's so simple. You can update it from anywhere, but make sure you're keeping that key information, and then obviously find a CRM that works for you, or just go through that spreadsheet and start calling people. There's a very successful agent who makes sure she calls her clients, I think it's like once a year or at least once a quarter. And she's extremely successful because she's constantly staying in touch with them.
Absolutely. Now, Sherry, which CRM are you using?
We have used Top Producer for many years. I bought Top Producer probably 25, 30 years ago. So that's what we've been using. We have integrated a little bit to InTouch here and there, just for campaign systems. But Top Producer is where we keep everything and everyone, and we constantly use that at all times.
Yeah, Top Producer has been around for a while. A lot of people use it, and it's interesting that it's still as relevant today as it was way back in the 90s when I remembered it. But yeah, having a CRM is one of the most important things you can do because you have to stay organized. So thinking about staying organized and in researching or identifying those opportunities for listings that are out there, I'm going to ask you, Sherry, what do you do to identify listings? How do you get your listings?
Well, again, most of my listings do come from my sphere of influence. So I do a lot of marketing to them. We do a lot of mail outs, Facebook, different internet, connections with people. So that's really just what, and just longevity. I've been doing this for 35 years. I, lived in the same community my whole life, which makes it easier. I've got a lot of family and friends that do refer me. So it's the, referral business that really keeps my business going.
Awesome. And now, John, I know you're on television talking about the market a lot, possibly on radio as well. What other things are you doing to actually generate listing leads?
Well, I think Mary talked about this also, but it's really just being the expert in your market. And going back to the CRM, we send out videos twice a month to our whole entire database. And it is amazing. I know a lot of agents have apprehension about doing video. You just got to get over yourself and do it. And you've got to figure out how to connect with your database. And so they can not only learn what's going on in the market, but learn about fun things that are going on in the community. The videos have got to be short, entertaining. They can't be about you. It's got to be about your community and your people and the market. And it has been great for us. We use a company called Viral Marketing. They make it super easy. And it's a great way to connect with your clients. They'll edit the videos for you. You got to come up with some scripting ideas, but it's so important to stay in touch with your database, with your past clients. And also, like Mary said, getting your contacts in a CRM and having a drip or a follow-up plan. And that follow-up plan, a lot of times, is picking up the phone and calling them, checking in on your clients, talking to your clients, updating them on the market. And then Natalie, like you said, asking them for the business. Gosh, have you thought about making a move in the next year or two? Get them into your CRM, have notes on your clients, and have continued follow-up, and you will do a lot of business.
Absolutely. Now, I know Mary's email is Mary Listens, and I know she spends a lot of time with her potential, listing opportunities. But Mary, do you do anything differently than John or Sherry to actually generate those listing leads?
Well, truthfully, honestly, it's all about the hustle. Okay. You got to keep trying new things. Social media wasn't around when I started. So if you're a new agent, because I see a question here, how do you get newer clients? I like this question because when I started out, I was 20 years old and my friends, I was about to start grad school and my friends were not buying real estate, but I went and I got my high school graduating class list, which was like 375 people. I started a spreadsheet. I started writing down everyone my parents knew, typing it in. And then I started using, at the time it was Zaba search, I think, to find everyone's addresses. So I put the time in to build my sphere because my broker, Joan Burngen, she said, the sphere of influence. And I'm like, what's a sphere? What is this? You get your real estate license and then you have no idea what you're doing because you have not done any real estate, right? So that's what I did. I spent my extra time doing that. And then that way I could send the mailings. Back then postage was much cheaper. And I used to cut my own postcards in the office. I used to design them in the office. Everything was, a lot different, but the biggest thing now is you've got Facebook, you've got social media, which is effective, but it's not going to be all your business. But agents, what I want to tell you is that don't keep it a secret that you're a realtor. I hear people say, oh, I don't want to be salesy. Facebook is for fun and blah, blah, blah. I get that. But the reality is that there are already people who like you, people who will want to work with you. So if they don't remember that you're a realtor when their aunt or their cousin or their coworker is talking about real estate, then you're going to have a missed opportunity. And the truth is we're in a sales business. We're selling homes. We're helping people with one of the biggest things of their life. But the reality is that we are selling ourselves. And in a highly competitive market like we're in right now, you have to continually be generating business, meeting new people, join a club, get involved. It's amazing how business comes from so many different sources once you get involved and meet people and again, build relationships.
Yeah, that's true. I love what you said about not being a secret agent, because I think that's where a lot of agents fall off track when they first get into business, by not sharing enough about what they do with the people that they already know. Now, I know you guys are really good at getting the actual listings. And then once you get the listings, you're really good at selling it, because if you weren't, you wouldn't sell as many as you do. But I'm just curious though, times are a little bit different now. And Mary, I want you to answer this first. Has your approach to listing presentations evolved over time? And if so, what are you doing differently than you used to do?
Well, I would say yes, yes and no, because in all reality, I'm a huge believer in keep it simple. You try to get too advanced. Actually, my listing packet hasn't changed that much, besides the fact that we update things and whatnot. But I think that my people skills, I think, and I'm a firm believer in continually reading books, listening to books, audio. You really want to be there with the client. Okay, so when you're walking through the home, what is your role there? Listings are very important because they're signing up with you. You have a contract. You're going to 90 some percent of the time, you're going to sell the house. Right now, 99 point something percent of the time, you are going to sell that house once you get that listing. And I learned from my previous broker, Tammy Mitchell, you get the listing and at that time, I think it was 92%. But the reality is that if you're marketing it correctly, if you're pricing it correctly, that is guaranteed. On the buyer side, that's not the case. The buyer can go buy a FSBO, buy their cousin's house, and we've seen a lot of that in the last 2 years. So I think when it comes down to it, yes, when I first started out, I bought suits because I was 20. My broker's like, you look older. And I was very uncomfortable. But you know what? My first listing, I left there with my mentor, and they told me that they were going to hire me because I was a professional woman. And that's what they wanted. And I thought, John, did you hear that? I'm a professional woman. Like, this is awesome. It was my first listing. But the reality is I'm always very professional. I always respect, people's time. I sit there, I listen, I try not to ever rush them. And the reality is I talk very little about myself. By the time they call me, I assume they know who I am and they called me for a reason. But I am very detail oriented. I do listen, just be professional and watch some videos, listen to some podcasts, get educated on listing appointments. And if you can, make sure you have a mentor or that you can shadow someone, because that's going to be a huge help. There's nothing better than experience and watching someone else do what they do who's experienced.
Love it. Love it. I love what you said about keeping it simple, being professional. And I also love what you say about getting a mentor. I think that's really the key to success in all of our business. Um, Sherry, you've been around this real estate business since 1987. So I know you've seen a lot of things change. You probably had the books when you first started. And, now you can
Yes.
actually look at a computer and see what the house looks like before you get there. So what have you done differently over the years that has made you continue to be successful year after year in terms of your
Well,
listing
I
presentation?
agree with what Mary said. You have to be professional. You can't show up in shorts and a t-shirt at someone's house. This is the biggest investment of their lives, and they're hiring you to sell it. So of course, you have to listen to what they're saying. You want to look at the house, you want to know the market. But for me, I agree with Mary. I don't really go in to brag about what I do, because I don't think they really care about what you've done. They want to know what you're going to do for them. And over the years, I have created a listing presentation, and it has evolved over the years, and actually it's going to evolve this year. I try to make it as simple and as quick as possible, but I put it on an iPad just to keep myself on target. And not that I read it word for word, but it just kind of helps me, if I forget something, it'll, cue me to say to say what I want next, to let them know how I'm going to market their house and how I'm going to be there to help them sell it and get the most money for their home. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that you need to, I feel for myself that I needed this presentation, because somebody can call me up right now and I can get a CMA ready real quick and know exactly what I'm going to say to them when I go in, just to let them know how I am going to market their home for them and get it sold.
I love that. I do love that. Sharing what you're going to do for them is most important, because you see a lot of new agents enter the market, and it's all about them and it's not necessarily about the client. But I love the idea that you just shared. Share what you're going to do for them, not what it means to you. Now,
Right.
John, you are everywhere when it comes to Minnesota real estate. I mean, everybody knows who you are. You're outpacing yourself year over year over year. Has there been a time in your career where you've had to change what you were doing in your listing presentations?
I think you've got to constantly evolve your listing presentation. A lot of that has to do with the market and what your client's going to expect coming to the market. But Sherry and Mary hit it out of the park. It's being professional and it's being prepared. With every lead that comes in before we go on an appointment, we call it getting the answers to the test, going through 10 questions, asking the seller everything about their home, their motivation, where they think the home should be priced. So we kind of know, and at least the seller's mindset, what at least they're expecting when we come out. Having all this information, we can do a one-stop approach. We don't do a two-step listing appointment. And once we have the answers to the test, we can come with a full market analysis. We know if we're close on pricing where we think it's at versus what the seller in their mind expects the home is going to sell at. And then it's being professional every step of the way. When you set that listing appointment, immediately send that seller an email reminding them of their appointment. We're all busy in this world. Professionals send reminders. Send a text message the day before to confirm the appointment. That's being a professional. A lot of agents don't do that. Mail them your marketing information before you get there. Have it look great. Make sure they get it before you go to the appointment. When we go to the appointment, we don't have to talk about marketing. People know already about us and what we're going to do. So as Mary and Sherry said, we can really focus on the client, what their needs are, and we come fully prepared with the market, with listing paperwork highlighted, ready to go. So after we've gone through the presentation, if they're ready to rock and roll, we're signing listing paperwork on the spot.
Awesome. I love confirm your appointments. I don't know how many times over the years agents have told me that they've shown up for the appointment and the seller wasn't there. So definitely confirm your appointments. Very valuable.
Saturday morning at 9 o'clock and you show up and you're not there, you're the one that made the mistake. You did not do a follow-up before the appointment.
Absolutely. That is key. That is key. So you guys sell multiple listings in the course of the year. So I'm going to ask you, Mary, with multiple listings at the same time, I know it forces you to be like organized and more systematic in how you work. Now, what systems or processes have you put in place to ensure that your listings get the attention they deserve as your listing inventory expands?
I'm a firm believer in people. So I spend the majority of my budget on people. I have a phenomenal office manager, Sherry. I have an assistant, Sam, and we make sure. See, I'm old school, so I'm 39, guys. I'm gonna be 40 this year. So when I say old school, I mean I like to talk to people when I call them. When I call, a company and it says, I'm on a phone tree, and then it's like dial this, dial that, and blah blah. We'll call you back within 48 hours. That to me is completely unacceptable. When you're only reachable by email, that to me is unacceptable. So when it comes down to someone, these sellers, they're paying, a premium for our services. And my clients can almost always get a hold of me. But that's also because I've organized my system where I focus on my sellers. And I've done that now since pretty much 2010. But that's important. Clients need to hear from us regardless every 7 to 10 days. So if nothing is going on, they still need to hear from us. And when we're sending updates, keep in mind, a seller may not understand what does underwriting mean? I know when I started, I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, what is it? What are they doing when they underwrite? It's good to have a conversation because then you can explain things and then the seller feels confident because they know what's going on too. Some sellers will say, listen, it's on you. Let me know when we're ready to close. Other sellers need more handholding, and that's our job to understand what their needs are, but to always make sure they're in the loop.
Awesome. I agree with you. And you said a few things there that really stuck out to me. Focus on your clients and communicate with your clients often. Very, very key, because a lot of us forget that, we might be doing a lot of things behind the scenes to sell the property, but if we're not communicating constantly, we're missing the mark. So I really do agree with you on that. That resonates really well with me. But I'm going to turn it over to Sherry. Sherry, how do you manage your multiple listings?
Well, I am very fortunate. I realized years ago that I'm not super organized with paperwork and different things like that. So I have a great team that works with me. I have Lori Pruitt. She is my closing coordinator. So once I get a house in pending, she pretty much takes over. I can always find out real quickly. We have a check sheet that we put on all the files, but Lori handles all of that because that, you know, once I learned a long time ago that once you get several in pending, your active listings, your clients do suffer when you're trying to get those deals closed. So so Lori helps me there, and I have another assistant, Dion, that does my listing packages and things like that. So she'll turn the listing in for me. She'll help me get the brochure made. So my job then is to communicate, like Mary said, with my clients. So I'm always ready to answer the phone. I try to answer the phone every time it rings, especially, just to see what they need. And if I can't answer the phone right away, I'll text them, let them know I'll call them in a few minutes. In fact, I just had a text from someone about their house going on the market. So of course I texted them real fast saying, hey, I'll call you back in about an hour. So communication is really important. And giving feedback and things like that, because if your house is on the market, a seller wants to know what other buyers are saying about their home. So it's constantly, my job is to constantly talk to my folks, let them know what's going on and keep them informed at all times.
Great. Yes, you said something that really resonated with me there too. Get help. If you can't be
Yes.
everywhere, especially when you're managing multiple listings, you can't do it all. You have to have people that help you do the things that you need to do to be what you promise to be to your sellers. Now, John, I saw a question in the chat, and I'm going to ask, they want to know if they can get your 10 questions that you asked of the seller when you go on a listing presentation. So if you're open to that, if you want to put them in the chat, or if you want to share them now, this is fine too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to share that. Anyone can email me after this. I'd be happy to share it. But it's really going through the first 5 questions are the same questions you would do likely when you're walking around the house. Updates, concerns, what they think are the major selling points. And then after you've really kind of opened up and you have the rapport, you're then going to go through and ask, gosh, in your heart of hearts, what do you think your house is really going to sell for in this market? Half the time they're going to come back and say, well, that's why I'm hiring you. Go back one more time and say, well, gosh, I totally get it. But, I really found that homeowners really have a good idea what their home is going to sell for. Really, what do you think your home is going to sell for in this market? And then shut up. They will answer that question 95% of the time. And then you kind of know going into it, really pricing wise, if you're going to be on the same page or not. And then the last question we used to ask, which really isn't as important anymore, is what do you owe on your house? In 2012, that was an important question to ask because you had to know if they were upside down or not. And people answer that question. When you know the condition of their house, the updates of their house, it's probably been listed before, so you can see the previous listing, what they think the house is worth and what they owe. And then timeline and motivation. Gosh, when would you like to be out of your house? If you could pick a date right now, well, now you know their motivation. If they say, hey, I really need to be out of here by June 1st versus, we're kind of thinking maybe 2025, you really know how much attention and energy you need to put into that lead at this very moment. Last thing I wanted to say, we were talking a little bit about communications on listings where, again, it's a lot easier now where listings are selling in like 3 minutes. But before, when we used to carry a bunch of listings, when you're carrying 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 listings, you have to have great communication where hopefully you're using a CRM that's reminding you the step-by-steps you need to do throughout that listing appointment. But even if you don't have a CRM, here's one good tip that I learned early on in my career. Call all of your sellers on Tuesday. If you just decide that I'm going to call all of my sellers on Tuesday, you never have to think, when was the last time I talked to this client? When was the last time I did an update? We used to pick up a ton of expired listings, and there's not as many anymore because of our communication. And when you have a lot of listings and you're talking to your sellers every single week, talking about the market, talking about updates, it's very easy to get that price correction when it's needed. But, as Mary and Sherry have said, it all comes down to communication. And to be a great agent, you have to be a great communicator.
Okay, you're absolutely correct about that. Communication is key. I'm going to ask you to take this a step further. So I know you have a specific communication and follow-up cadence with your sellers, but what do you think, or what have you found rather, that has resonated the most with your sellers? What do you think is the thing they appreciate that you do the most?
I think it's being straightforward with them. There's times that you need to tell sellers things they don't want to hear, and it's like being a surgeon. Sometimes you're going to have to tell people things they do not want to hear, being a doctor. And we're very straightforward and our clients appreciate it. And so I think that is a difficult time, especially newer agents, is really being open and honest with your client. And in this market, you have to be in setting expectations. It's the same thing on the buy side. When you're dealing with a buyer in this market, if you don't set proper expectations going into it, they're going to get very frustrated because they're probably not going to win out on the first or second, third, or maybe even fourth house. And if you're not setting the expectation, you're going to be the problem in their eyes. So don't be afraid to tell people things they don't want to hear if it's the right thing that they need to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell the truth. That's really important. Now, John, you have a team. And I know that I hear from some teams across the country that sometimes it's a little difficult to communicate your value or how you operate with every member of your team. How do you work that in? How do you ensure that your team is communicating what John Schuster represents to the sellers?
We don't have a lot of turnover on our team. And so we're very lucky. We're very blessed. We're all on the same page as far as how we're going to work listings, how we're going to work with our clients, our ethics. And so it's very easy to convey because the agents on the John Schuster group are going to convey the same messaging that if I were sitting at that appointment directly. And we have constant follow-up with our listing partners. We talk with all of our listing partners once a week. And then it's also an open door policy. If there's any concerns, anything, myself, my business partner, Bonnie Willick, is always available. And, it's like Mary said, you got to be able to communicate and you got to allow the calls to come in. You see some agents where I'm only available via text message, never call me. That just does not work in this business. You've got to be constantly available. And that's what we do with all of our team members, and very lucky to have the team that we have.
Absolutely. Making sure that they're all saying the same message is really key. Now, Sherry, you've had a team for a long time, probably longest of the three. What do you do specifically with your team to ensure that they're communicating your message and delivering the service that you have or that the seller has expected of your team?
Like John, my team's been together for a long time. I'm going to say probably 15 years. So we talk every day. And I know they know me, I know them, and I know that they communicate to, if I'm not around, they'll communicate to my clients exactly what they know I will want, because we're all on the same page as to how we treat all of our clients and how we run my business. So I'm extremely lucky to have those two on my team. And they've been there with me a long time, and they know how I want things to work. And we're always in constant communication. I'll talk to them either in the office or several times a day by phone. If they have a question, they always call me first if they're not sure exactly how to respond. So it's just having a good team behind you.
Yeah, I'm hearing this a lot throughout this talk. Communication with the sellers, communication with the team members. So communication is really key. I can see that, and because that's definitely what all three of you do to make yourselves so successful. Now, we're Coldwell Banker. And at Coldwell Banker, we have a lot of stuff. We have great tools and technology to really help us get listings, sell listings. I'm going to pose this question to you, Sherry. What is your favorite Coldwell Banker technology or tool that helps you to either get, service, or sell your listing?
Listing Concierge. It's been the most streamlined program. I love it. It's professional and it's easy. You know, you've got great photographers that will take wonderful pictures. They're sent to you within 24 hours or less. And that's been the best tool I believe that Coldwell Banker has come out with in a very long time. So I'm very happy with Listing Concierge.
Okay, so how do you use it? Do you use it on all of your listings?
Yes, yes. Large, small, yes, it's just streamlined. It's like I said, professional looking. And it really makes, I feel like it really impresses my clients when I go over what we're going to do and what their brochures are going to look like, what it's going to look like online. And the brochure, the postcards they send out. So they're always very impressed with the Listing Concierge program.
And do you find that the Listing Concierge program actually helps you get more listings in the areas that you market to because of the way the
Yes, I
materials?
do. Yes, I do. I do.
Awesome. John, do you have a favorite Coldwell Banker tool or technology?
I'm going to jump on the Listing Concierge bandwagon. We fought it for the first year it came out because we thought we knew how to do it best, and we finally laid down and gave it a try, and it's really a great product. You know, you're not going to pay much more, and in some cases you're going to pay less than you were paying just for the photographs. And, you know, as Sherry said, the just listed, just sold postcards are great, but one of the added benefits, depending on which program you choose in Listing Concierge, is they're going to do a lot of your social media marketing. And when you go back in through the app and you realize you're going to get per listing that you do through Listing Concierge, 5 to 50 email addresses of people that have clicked on it on social media. And if you're doing it right, you're taking that list of email addresses and you're adding it to your CRM. You now are, I mean, that's your goal should be, is to add new contacts to your CRM daily, weekly, monthly. And if you can get these people that were interested on one of your listings now in your CRM, and you're sharing good content through video or direct mail or through emails, again, you're gonna take your one listing, and your goal is to make that in make that into 2 or 3 more pieces of business. And with Listing Concierge, it's very, very easy to do that. There is no reason that everybody on this webinar should be using Listing Concierge for all of their listings.
Awesome. So Mary, I'm going to throw it to you. What's your favorite CB tool?
So truthfully, MarketQuest is my favorite tool because it's got the data that I need to ensure that my listings are on track and that I'm pricing properties correctly. I'm a data fan, so I really love how the market reports show off. I actually use the older version because it's more narrative and I feel like it's easier to read for a consumer. But that is definitely one of my favorite. Listing Concierge is great as well, especially if you don't have the, we do a lot of our own stuff. So the reality is that we use a mix of both. But in all reality, you're getting so much for what you're paying for it. So when you figure professional photos are anywhere from $75 to $150, you're paying what, an extra $100 to get the just listed, the just solds, the social media, the TV show, which people love the TV show. And it's funny because they think that I've gotten calls saying, hey, I just saw you on TV. It's literally my picture floating around. Or I got a listing actually from the View magazine because they saw that I listed a lot in Oak Lawn. I had several listings in there and I got the listing. So I think that one listing paid for my concierge probably for that entire year. But yes, it's definitely, I mean, try different things, see what works. And most important thing is track where you should always know where all your business is coming from. And you should review that because that's what you need to focus on. If you're getting all your business, if you have one client giving you 20 deals a year, you better be focusing, thanking, appreciating that client. And I see a question in here as far as, well-oiled machines and the business probably just comes. That's not true. I always say it's time to make the donuts. We have to continually hustle. This is a hustle. You have to continually follow up no matter how successful you are. That is why we're successful, because we continually keep working. There's no easy ride in real estate. There's no shortcut. It's truthfully that, like the quote says, the only shortcut is the long way. You put the effort in, you get the results. They're positively correlated. The more effort, the better the results.
No truer words have ever been spoken. You're right about that. It's what you put into it is what you'll actually get out. Now, I know all of you have goals for 2022. And before we get to, I'm going to ask a few more questions before we get to the questions from the audience, because I really want to know, I want them to have all of their burning questions answered. But What are your listing goals for 2022, Mary?
Honestly, right now, I mean, I have a different mentality. Okay. So looking at business is very important. I am one that stays in my own lane. I'm a horse with blinders on. So my number one thing is to provide the best, service to my clients. And I know that when my heart is in the right place and that I'm just focusing on that, good things really happen. When I stay positive, I'm attracting that positivity. So this year I want, my team, obviously, like I want everyone to be, we've 2020, 2019 through 20, like pretty much November 2019 through 2021, it's been nonstop. So in all reality, hearing my team members say they're getting, 7 offers not accepted in a row, it was spring of 2021 I've never seen anything like that as far as people bidding 30,000 over asking price and whatnot. So I think what I'm focusing on this year is just doing the best possible with our clients, obviously, making sure that I'm there, obviously, for all of my team members, because, a lot of new people in the business. And in all reality, when I started out, I had a mentor. I did Coldwell Banker's Fast Start program, which was 2 weeks long, Monday through Friday. I loved it. Bring that back, because that was one of my favorite things. You got to meet, 40 different agents and had the best people in the business telling you what they're doing in person. But anyhow, I know the world's changed and everything's techie now, but I think my focus this year is to provide the best, just like every year, provide the best, best practices possible with my clients. And then also, it's helping the clients. So in all reality, I know that we're going to do well. It's all in God's hands. God has always driven my business. And I think that we're going to have a great year, but I'm not going to put pressure on my team members. I'm not going to pressure myself, because you're helping enough people. That's what this business is all about. I've been blessed to be where I am at throughout all these years. I never in a million years imagined this side job would turn into something like this. So that's kind of my focus almost every year.
Awesome, awesome. Sherry, what are your goals for 2022?
Well, I never really set goals, believe it or not. I really don't. I like Mary. There was a time in my career when, every client, I would go, okay, how much money am I going to make off of them? That, how much money is going to be coming in? And the second I stopped doing that and I start to just, I'm helping people make the biggest decision of their life. And so it is just a matter of helping people and not worrying about the money. I mean, of course, everybody wants to make more money than they did the year before, but like Mary, I feel like I want to do a really good job for my clients. I want every client to feel like I gave them 110%. So that's what I focus on also, is just giving good quality service and not worrying about goals and money, and just working with my people.
Okay, John, do you have the same idea?
Well, I think these are all great ideas. We're looking to grow 15% from where we were last year, but more importantly than the numbers goals, it's really coming to all of our agents of having that mental health. The world has just kind of gotten crazy the last couple of years, and maybe even a couple of years before that, and really kind of just bringing it in. I think, going through COVID and social distancing, it's bringing everybody kind of back together and enjoying what we do. Because when you kind of get off on an island and you're kind of doing it by yourself, it's not as much fun as when you're kind of doing it together, either through a team or everybody in this webinar in the brokerage you're at. And so it really is just spending more time with our team members and really just enjoying what we do. And it's really, really important, because it's been a crazy couple of years.
I'm hearing living an exceptional life. That's awesome. And that's what we strive to do every day. Now, real quickly, before we go to questions from the audience, one quick pro tip that you would give to agents watching this panel discussion that will improve their listing results this year. John, what's your quick pro tip?
Get professional, do not wing it, have a plan and work that plan.
Awesome. How about you, Sherry?
Having a professional listing presentation ready at any moment that you can just go and do a listing and just tell them everything you're going to do for them.
Awesome. And how about Mary?
Okay, so I did come prepared. I typed out all this stuff, but here I want to go through some numbers, guys. This year is going to be a battle. Okay. I've said this from day one. the inventory is extremely low. Less people are appearing to be listing their properties. The data's been out, but just to put it in perspective, and Lawrence Yoon brought this up at our, when he spoke for Coldwell Banker. Real estate is one of the only professions during the pandemic that grew exponentially in the workforce. So we have now 156,409 more realtors in 2019 or 2020 and 2021. So in 2 years, that's how many realtors have been added. That's now surpasses. Right now, we have over 1.5 million realtors nationwide, and that doesn't include the realtors that are not a part of NAR. To put it in perspective, in 2006, we had a little over like 1.35 million realtors. Okay. When the market started to go down, by the time we got to 2012, we were down to 999,000 realtors. We lost 357,000 realtors because the market was obviously extremely challenging. So I say this to you because it's important to know things. You've got a family member now that's got another family member that's licensed and they're brand new and they want to help them out. We hear that. Sometimes you hear, hey, I want to help someone else out because you're obviously doing well. It's very important to keep that in perspective. So when you're going in there, assume that you're going to be up against at least 3 other realtors. You have to walk in prepared, looking, obviously great, professional. If you're looking for ideas on what to ask, just think about all the different perspectives when you're walking through a property and be prepared for that. I also obviously believe that when you walk in, you should be 100% prepared, because otherwise, I've had listing appointments where they said the other agent is going to get back to them in 2 or 3 days with their report. That's a long time in this real estate market. Also, when you're talking with clients, if they've got someone else interested, like a neighbor, they likely will buy the house. That's what we've seen in the last 2 years. So sell yourself as far as what is your value to them. And by hitting the market, what does that mean to them? Because when buyers are bidding 10, 20, 30,000 over asking price, are they really getting the best deal by saving the commission? That's probably one of the best things, but be ready to hustle this year because it is going to be a challenging year, and it's not being negative. It's just being true. So you've got to put yourself out there and you have to look at the hours you're putting in. I used this example recently, but imagine a store owner that only opens his storefront 8 hours a week. How much is he going to sell? In all reality, I've noticed a lot of realtors want to do this as a very part-time hobby. You're not going to get the results and you're not going to get the success you want if you are not putting in the hours. You have to treat this like a business. You have to work inside your business. You have to constantly hustle. And when you do that, I guarantee you will see success like you never imagined.
Absolutely. Hustle. You're absolutely correct with that. And powerful information from you guys, but there's a lot of questions in the chat, and I want to make sure that we're able to answer a few of them. So I can't see the questions now, but actually I have help. And there's a question. What are some recommended podcasts to listen to? Either of you can unmute and share that.
Tom Ferry's got a good one. If you go into your podcast app on your phone, just search real estate. There's Real Estate Rock Stars. There's a couple that have a real estate team. I can't think of the name of theirs, but there's so many to choose from and they're all free, which is awesome. And there's a lot of good info and you can scroll through and see what's interesting for you. There's a lot for brand new agents, so check those out.
Awesome. Next question. How do you become an expert in the market? What classes do you take? Podcasts, books, mentor, or shadowing? Anybody want to jump in on that one?
Just got to study your market. You've got to, I don't think a podcast is going to teach you about your market. You need to be in the MLS every single day. You need to know all of the inventory coming on. So if somebody asks you about a specific property, especially if you're going on a market, you need to know everything in that neighborhood or that street. Even if, you're going on a 2-story house and all your comps are 2 stories and that's what you studied. If their neighbor next door is a Rambler and that sold, a month ago, you need to know that house also. And so there's really no podcast or shortcut to knowing your market. It's daily looking at the MLS, knowing your sales, having searches set up in the MLS for sold listings in the areas that you sell. So you can see as soon as it goes pending, as soon as it goes sold, what it's sold for, and having that kind of institutional knowledge, available to you at any time.
Awesome. Next question. What pre-qualifying questions do you ask before the listing appointment so you're prepared? Anyone?
Yeah, I
So-
kind of hit on this before, I talked about, but for us, it's really figuring out, their motivation, what their home is all about, and really kind of in their mind, what they think their home is worth. With kind of those three pieces of information, we're able to go into that appointment, 95% of the time knowing where it should sell and kind of what's going to happen in that appointment. Obviously, you have to be able to pull out of that if things change or if they come in and say a different value. But really, as we talk about, it's getting the answers to the test before you go on that appointment.
Okay. Do you use Moxie or formal presentation platform? So actually, this question was posed to Sherry.
Oh, yes, I do use Moxie. Yes. When I go on a listing presentation. Yes, I do. And it's has a lot of good information in there. But just like John said, you have to know your market. One of my questions I ask a seller before I go to see their home is, what updates have you done? Because that's key. Because a lot of people have bought homes that they put granite in and different things, and we just need to know what they've put into it so we can kind of adjust our our marketing plan and the CMA for them.
Okay. Yes, no question for all of you. Do you personally attend all of your listing appointments, or does a team member do it for you?
I only do listing presentations. No one else on my team does. I am the listing agent. Yes. So yeah, I attend everything.
John, Mary?
I do not. We have listing partners that attend all of our listings. Obviously, if it's a VIP past client or a close friend, I might do it, but otherwise we have listing partners that handle all of our listings.
I do go on pretty much all my listing appointments unless there's some type of conflict or for instance, my team member Steve, he's been with me for 12 years. If it's a client type, like for instance, that he's specializing in, then I think I give him a flipper one time and I think he's closing the 5th deal for them now. So, but my team members are allowed to get obviously their own listings. I encourage them to promote themselves, everything. I want them to do extremely well. So I focus on my clients, my listings, and then, I encourage my teams to bring in their business as well.
Okay. Team, for those of you that have teams, how many members are on your teams and what are their roles?
I have a listing coordinator, closing coordinator, and a buyer's agent, and then myself. And actually my husband also is a buyer's agent for me too. So there's 5 members.
Okay. How about you, John?
I have 17 members on my team. My husband's also a buyer's agent on my team. Isn't it fun working, talking about real estate 24/7? But we have 17 team members. 4 of them are listing partners, buyer's agent, and some admin help.
Awesome. How about you, Mary?
Yes, and so my team member, Steve, he's been with me, like I said, 12 years. He's my full-time buyer's agent. And then I have a variety of buyer's agents that are working in Illinois and Wisconsin. I think all with the goal of completely going full-time. I have 2 admins, and my husband is a lender. So obviously he's not officially on my team, but he's the one who makes sure that we get our deals clear to close really quickly, and he does a phenomenal job. So
One thing I forgot to add on mine too is we have 2 ISAs, 2 inside sales agents. So if anybody calls in our team morning, noon, night, weekend, they're going to get a hold of somebody live on our team. I think Mary brought this up of, not getting put into a phone tree or anything, that our phones are being answered 24/7. And when they're not online, our phones ring over to an answering service. So you could call our team at 2 o'clock in the morning and someone's going to answer the phone. Now, obviously that answering service is going to just get some good detailed information and hand it back off to the ISAs in the morning. But our ISAs are in-house. We do not outsource our inside sales agent position. And with Tim and Sterling coming on as our ISAs, that's where our team has truly been able to grow. And they're kind of the keeper of all the data. They get that lead, they put that lead into the CRM, they assign the proper action plan to that lead. And once it's ready, nurtured and qualified, they hand that lead off to the correct agent.
Wow. You guys, this has been a phenomenal presentation. I have enjoyed this immensely, hearing from you and everything that you do. And it's just a testament to why you are so successful. In the interest of keeping everybody on time, we still have a lot of questions in the chat. We are going to wrap it up now, but I promise that all of those questions in the chat will be answered and distributed to everyone so that, no one walks away feeling like they didn't get their question answered. You guys, thank you so very much for, taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing so much of your story with the rest of the group. And audience, thank you for hanging in with us for an hour. We appreciate you. Coldwell Banker rocks. And, this is all part of what we do to help you live an exceptional life. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.